Alright boys, we have officially made it. Classic Plus has reached kind of mainstream. I've seen many articles about Classic Plus now by bigger websites out there covering gaming news. I've also seen a Mad Season video getting over 100,000 views on YouTube, and now we have a Bellular video as well about Classic Plus. We've gone from being super niche and we've been some people now that have been covering Classic Plus for over half a year, some of us for almost 2 years now, and it's getting super close, and you can see that by once again just massive both websites and the creators as well starting to cover it. So let's see what Bellular has to say about this. I will say, out of all the content creators, this is likely one of the last ones I was expecting to cover Classic Plus, especially before a Blizzard announcement. But I mean, we technically have it announced, they just haven't said the word yet or the actual name, but I mean, they've been doing everything they can to hint towards it. But yeah, let's see what he has to say, shall we?
We have so much to talk about in today's WoW news, but first, ladies and gentlemen, something is afoot. I say that because a combination of data mining, creator teasing, and one very pointed Blizzard fakeout has got people excited again.
Wait, data mining? What is this? World Expansion 11, player housing, 12 Light Moonwell, World Expansion 11. Expansion 11, isn't that isn't that the one we're in now? 12.0? Yeah, bro, this is Midnight WoW. So player housing, Light Moonwell, Void Moonwell, and a Skyborn Windwell. Okay.
I say that because a combination of data mining, creator teasing, and one very pointed Blizzard fakeout has got people excited again. And there's a lot to talk about. So, let's get into the news. After Holly's fake-out announcement at the State of Warcraft, we thought it would be Classic Plus in September, which felt like a bit of a long time to wait. And maybe Blizzard agreed because a stack of creators went for a trip back to the Orc statue in Irvine. Esfand has been posting about the Dark Portal never opening, and basically every Classic creator has been gearing up to something. Now naturally, that's kicked off the usual round of Reddit leaks, fake leaks, maybe real leaks, and people pinning little bits of string to the wall trying to work it all out. So, rather than get lost in whatever somebody's uncle apparently heard from a friend, let's just talk about what's actually there and what's actually concrete. So, back when patch 12.05 hit the PTR, data miners found a bunch of odd things. Skyborn housing decor. There's a wind well, wind chimes, a banner, curtains, a pillow. They're light blue, they're wind-themed, they're very elven-looking items, and they've got file names such as 12ph shop Skyborn. So, on its own, that's not really proof of much. It could just be a shop bundle, a trading post thing. It could be an ordinary bit of housing decor with a name that just sounds more important than it is, and that kind of thing can happen. But what happened afterwards was more weird, because mentions of the Skyborn items actually vanished. They vanished from Wowhead and MMO Champion. Public pages or posts that had referenced them became unavailable or just disappeared from normal view. Then, the related model and texture files appeared to have been encrypted. Now, that is not normal behavior. That's what we call a cover-up. Because data mined items appearing is completely normal. Data mined items getting attention is normal, but then them becoming unavailable and encrypted is just a lot more interesting. But it's not just the file name, because there's also the file ID placement. The Skyborn Windwell appears right beside the expansion pre-order style decor wells that we got with Midnight. Some of the texture paths actually seem to predate Midnight, while the actual decor showed up in 12.05. There's a bunch of little clues. So, the cautious take on all of this is Blizzard have the Skyborn housing assets. They were shop tagged, they sat near pre-order style reward assets, people noticed them, and then they just got hidden away. You know, clear up some confusion. Now to be clear, none of this confirms Classic Plus, Skyborn Elves, Playable High Elves, Alliance Shamans, Northeron.
Yo, okay, this right here, by the way, is actually not that bad, because when he started talking about this, I was like, so this is a retail item? But the more I think about that, the more that makes sense. Think about what they did for TBC. In TBC Anniversary, for example, if you bought the Deluxe Edition or something, you got a mount in retail. So they're trying to make so that the retail players purchase this version, whether they're going to play it or not. They're focusing on just giving you something in retail to increase their sales, because that way, if you're a collector in retail and you want to collect everything, they're selling you mounts already, they might as well tie it into a bundle to give you something in Classic as well. So it could give you like Classic Plus when it comes out. Let's just say that it has a purchase price, but you can play it for free. But if you pay for it, you also get something visual. They don't want to do pay to win, but you could get a cape or something, I don't know, like some sort of like visual transmog-ish thing, or just a toy as well in Classic. Maybe a toy in Classic, and then a mount and housing items in retail, just to attach some sort of purchase to Classic Plus when it comes out. In which case, this right here kind of makes sense. I have no idea how, like, the color palette and everything of these items makes sense. That makes it so that Classic Plus has to be something about the sky or wind. Maybe like the winds of Azeroth, or I have no idea. What could it be if it has to do with winds or wind? Well, what could that be? Winds of Azeroth? No idea. Actually, no idea. Probably have to think about that one for a while. And just, yeah, no idea. But this could once again be a bundle that is attached to just making money from the launch of Classic Plus, and that is actually not a bad data mine, especially when they have encrypted this as well after the fact, because that kind of shows they're trying to, like, not make it leak. Just hiding it, just oopsie poopsie, we're hiding it now.
Or any of that really spicy stuff. Though, I would not be surprised if a bunch of that does end up being real. Now, to be clear, this is still us on a big evidence corkboard trying to work out what's going on with all of these clues. What I will say is it does make the theory a lot less silly, and that's because these pieces line up in a way that truly makes sense. So let me explain. The idea people keep coming back to is Northeron, a region where we get high elves, dwarves, griffins, wind-themed stuff, and maybe some Alliance shaman flavor if Blizzard wanted to go in that direction. Now, any one of those little things is a little thin. A data-mined griffin doesn't mean that we're going to declare skyborn elves are really a thing. But if you put enough of these things beside each other, I think you can see why people are leaning into it, because it all does sit in the same, roughly speaking, fantastical space, the same theme. And then that all brings us back to
I mean, I can see them attaching some mounts like that in retail to a Classic Plus sale. So Griffin, for example, would be to signal the Alliance Flight Master mount type thing. Like when you fly from Flight Master to Flight Master in Classic as an Alliance, it's on a Griffin. So you can get a high texture edition of that Griffin in retail, or some Griffin variant in retail. Same thing for Horde as well, one of those Wyverns that they fly on, we could get one of those in retail as a mount. And if we already have them, we can get different ones. And just attach some of that nostalgia to a sale and make money from that as well. I can see that happening, absolutely.
Classic Plus. So, Mists of Pandaria Classic still has a bit of runway, so this is unlikely to be some sort of normal, Warlords of Draenor Classic beat. These assets and all the talk. I mean, the Dark Portal not opening is why people think Blizzard are preparing to almost fork the timeline, right? What if Azeroth continued, or there was just more time before the Burning Crusade happened, and that during that time, we could just explore post-Warcraft 3 Azeroth a hell of a lot more. Now, if Classic Plus is about that, about staying in Azeroth and exploring different old world ideas instead of just marching through the same old expansion treadmill, then Northeron and Old Faction Fantasy fit that pitch, honestly, pretty damn neatly, pretty perfectly. So I think a fair read of this is this. Some of this stuff is circumstantial. Some of it is community cope or community hope. Some of it, a lot of it actually, is genuinely odd, especially those shop-tagged Skyborn assets becoming unavailable and encrypted while classic creators were going back to Blizzard to do some sort of creator summit. Now,
oh no. What if Skyborn is a hint to us getting flying in Classic WoW? Oh, please no. Oh, please no. I mean, here's the thing, I don't really mind having flying that much, but it's just in vanilla WoW, I feel like it makes the world so much smaller. And especially for world PvP as well, like if everyone can just fly everywhere, on PvP servers there will be way less PvP. Flying brings a lot of cool things, but also kills parts of the game. That I think it's cool that we have flying in expansions after vanilla, but I don't want to see flying in vanilla. Please no.
Classic Plus is not confirmed. I'd say at this stage, though, it is all but confirmed. Blizzard have been as clear as they can be without pretty much just giving the whole game away. On the one hand, the creator stuff could be Blizzard soliciting feedback, having a chat, and it could be BlizzCon.
Dude, okay, so I've seen some various takes on what this could be, because these guys, like, if they saw anything, they're under NDA. Which means, whatever they are telling you right now, if they're under NDA, it's bullshit. So for example, let's just, let's say that I'm Yuzu, and I went to BlizzCon, not BlizzCon, to Blizzard, and they showed me Classic Plus, and like, how it played, and got feedback based on that. I would be under NDA to say what I saw, but I could make up any story about anything else. So I could be like, maybe it was just they asked us questions and we answered. Maybe other maybe other companies have done this in the past. To have like a creator summit and just ask questions and get feedback. What I think is if all they were doing is have like a theorycraft session, sitting at a round table and just talking, that can be done over Discord. You wouldn't spend thousands of dollars, like not even thousands, probably tens of thousands of dollars, to invite these creators over just to have a chat. If you're meeting in person, you're showing them something. Also, there is no way Classic Plus is currently in the what if stage. Like the brainstorming stage was over a year ago. They're not starting thinking about Classic Plus now. They've been working on it for over a year. So, if you're inviting them now to ask their opinions and stuff, isn't that like 1 year too late? If you've been cooking on something for a year, you invite them to show what you have and ask what more can we do. Which means that they already have the base game, they have it playable, and they're asking what more do you want to see than what we currently have done. And then getting feedback based on that. That I can see happen. I can see that they had a playable version of Classic Plus and they all tried it, and Blizzard simply asked, what more do you want to see? Or, what did we do that you don't like? Basically asking, did we do too much, or should we do more? And showing them what they had. That's what I can see. That's possibly what makes the most sense to me, at least. Because once again, if all they were doing is sitting at a table and talking about things, that can be done online these days. There's no justifiable reason to meet up in person in that case, especially when they're all streamers, they're taking several days away from their streams, losing out on potential income, and also one of them is from the EU. He has to fly from EU to NA. I'm just saying.
Where we actually see the thing get announced. But also, it is looking like it could be shown off perhaps even sooner than BlizzCon. That may seem like a totally insane thing, but think...
That's what I have been saying as well, by the way. And it's so cool to see Bellular say the same, because I've said now for over a month that I think they're gonna show it in May or June. I mean, May is really optimistic, but June is realistic, and it's gonna be like a teaser. Before the full trailer and everything. It is to generate sales for BlizzCon, both actual in physical tickets, but also virtual tickets. They're selling that as well. So they're trying to hype it up to sell you tickets, and if you have a better understanding of what to expect, you're probably more like inclined to buy tickets as well. At the moment, I have no idea, like maybe at BlizzCon, they're gonna announce Classic WoW Mobile, in which case I'm not going to pay them a penny for a ticket for that. But if I know Classic Plus is being announced, I want to be there. I want to see that. And now I'm going to buy a ticket, right? If there's even a small chance that Classic Plus doesn't get announced, I'm not going to buy anything.
Thinking about BlizzCon, there's going to be quite a few things that Blizzard will need to announce there. There's even some talk about, say, that new StarCraft open world game, right? So with all that in mind, maybe they want to space things out a bit. Now there is one extra wrinkle to this though, because if Skyborn is real, then the question is also how Blizzard would sell it to people. And the read here is that these assets are shop tagged, they're sitting near pre-order style rewards, and may be decrypted soon. Now, that doesn't tell us what the product is, but I think it does tell us the overall shape Blizzard will be thinking of, because this is where player housing actually changes up the mats a bit. If players care about wells, banners, rugs, pillows, themed bundles, just stuff for their house, then Blizzard has a lot more things to hand out, and a lot more things to sell. And that's why...
I'm gonna say it, by the way. Before we got housing in retail, I wanted to have housing in Classic Plus, because I think housing in MMORPGs are really fantastic, but after seeing how aggressively Blizzard is monetizing it in retail, I don't want to see it anymore in Classic Plus. Blizzard's aggressive monetizing of housing has ruined housing for me. So thank you. I genuinely have loved housing so much in other video games, especially Arcade, for example, and Final Fantasy as well, but in WoW, they've ruined it for me. I don't want to see it now in Classic Plus.
The Skyborn tag matters, I would say, because if this ends up being normal shop decor, that's fine. If it's tied to a Classic Plus pre-order thing or deluxe style bonus, then the first proper Classic Plus beat may arrive with a price tag attached. Maybe it'll be a pre-order. Maybe the news of BlizzCon will be that it'll finally go live. Hard to say exactly, and none of us can predict the future, but it is looking fairly certain that there will be Classic Plus news soon. But oddly enough, that's not the only Classic Warcraft news, because in a seemingly random act of grace, Blizzard finally undid some of the damage that they inflicted in Warcraft 3 6 years ago. And yes, it really has been that long. You can now play Warcraft 3 through Battle.net properly via Warcraft 3 Legacy. You see, before, if you wanted the old version of the game, you'd have to use a separate installer. So, in theory, this is exactly the sort of thing that people have been asking for. Basically, easy access to the original Warcraft 3 with none of the reforged gumph. You'll be able to do LAN and offline play, old maps and campaigns. Basically, less friction for people who never really wanted reforged in the first place. This is good. More things like this, please, Blizzard. Fantastic. But there's a bit of a problem, and that's the...
May I just ask, though, why that took them 6 years to do? Like, I'm not a developer, or a publisher, or have anything to do with video games, really, outside of making content, but, like, how does that take 6 years to do? I'm just wondering. Anyone who's working in this business, like, just explain to me how this takes 6 years.
Blizzard somehow found a way to make this easy win a little bit weird. You see, Warcraft 3 Legacy is on patch 1.29 rather than patch 1.31, so it's missing some of the final pre-reforged changes that were made to the game. And of course it also doesn't support online play, which is disappointing, but at least it is a little understandable. You can see Blizzard not wanting to run like another live branch of a game. But the worst bit is that at launch, playing Warcraft 3 wasn't really in the supported list of features for this version of Warcraft 3. It's very silly, but what happened is they shipped it with the wrong folder structure. So the maps and the cinematics were there across a load of languages, but they were just in the wrong place. And that meant that trying to play anything could just boot you right back to the main menu. The install was also twice as large as it needed to be because of all of the redundant language data. Now the good news is the community found the issue quickly, forum posters were talking about diagnoses and workarounds, and Blizzard's official fix did actually come, it just took 9 days. 9 days to fix a folder problem that players had effectively identified for them. Cool. No real harm done in the end, of course, and I do want to be fair. Getting original Warcraft 3 back into the launcher is a really good thing. It should have been an easy win. I think it's just a bit mad, a bit crazy that even this somehow launched in a broken, barely explained way and then took longer than it really should have to be fixed. And I guess that's the annoying part. Even a nice gesture of goodwill just, didn't really go right. That's a shame. So the idea was good, the follow-through has felt a little bit oddly hands-off, But let's think about things for a second. If Classic Plus is going to be a big thing, then maybe they want a version of the game that came out before Classic, Warcraft 3 in its original state, so people can play the campaigns just like, basically, the rest of us did when we were much younger. Okay, this is a lot of classic-y stuff, a lot of old stuff. Let's talk about live, because Blizzard are fixing some problems in the immediate. It took a while, but the fabled light touch balance stuff is actually here, and true to Paul Cubitt's word, they are bringing up the underperforming tanks without knocking down Brewmaster. So, Blood DK, Vengeance DH, Prot Paladin, and Protection Warrior are all getting decently substantial durability buffs. Blood DK gets more stamina, more Death Strike healing, and stronger Dancing Rune weapon support. Vengeance gets better baseline damage reduction, armor, and stamina. Prot Warrior gets more damage reduction across the places where, well, they would tend to be a bit more squishy. And Prot Paladin, well, you guys are really getting a pretty big package of changes, because goddamn, you really did need it. There's longer Sentinel uptime, more stamina, stronger low health.
I will say, by the way, when it comes to class tuning like this, and spec tuning as well, this is like a mix of both what I want to see and don't want to see in Classic Plus as well. And what I mean by, like, I want to see something similar is that I want Blizzard to buff whatever spec is underperforming, and nerf whatever is overperforming, and bring them all closer to a baseline. I do think it's healthy for the game for some classes to do better than others, and this happens all the time in retail as well, and I just think that's healthy, because if everyone does exactly the same DPS, then there's no difference in any class, in any way, shape, or form. And especially in Classic, I believe there should be differences, right? I think one of the big and core differences in gameplay, at least, between Classic and retail, is that in retail, every class can do everything. Every class and every spec can do both good AoE and good single target and kick or silence. Meanwhile, in Classic, it's more like some classes are very good at AoE. Others are very good at single target. Others are not good at any of those, but they bring silences and kicks. And some classes don't bring any of those three, but they bring buffs. So it's just like, it's different things your class is good at, and not everyone is good at everything, which I do like. But I do like that, I think for Classic Plus as well, they should be more open to buffing and nerfing classes. Not as rapidly as they are doing in retail, but in like a major patch cadence. So when we get phase 1, for example, then phase 2, then phase 3, be more open to buffing and nerfing things based on that phase's performance. Which in Classic Plus, because we're now doing something new, that can happen. In Classic, it pretty much couldn't, because in regular Classic, you're following what happened. You're chasing nostalgia and replaying things the way they were. So if Fury Warriors were insane in Vanilla WoW, they were gonna be insane in Classic as well. If Arcane Mages were really good in TBC, they're gonna be that this time as well. If Affliction Warlocks are really good in Wrath, they're gonna be that this time as well. But now, in Classic Plus, they have an opportunity for things to be different, and I really hope they are.
Health protection, and a fairly huge improvement to Ardent Defender. And that last bunch of changes really matters, because
what I don't like is what they've been doing in retail right now, because if you've been a tank in retail, you went from being super good in week 1 to bad in week 2, back to being good in week 3, back to being bad in week 4, then you were okay in week 5, super bad in week 6, insanely overpowered in week 7, bad again in week 8. It's been the biggest roller coaster I've ever seen of any class or spec tuning ever in World of Warcraft history. It's gone week by week from like, we're so back to it's over, we're back again, it's over, we're actually back this time, now it's actually over, we are so back, and then it's over again. I feel so bad for anyone who's playing a tank at the moment.
Paladins were feeling the pain majorly. I mean, goddamn, I raided with one for half of the first season before he ended up swapping over to Death Knight, because Prot was in just such a weak state. And if you've been tanking on Prot, this is exactly the sort of pain that you would have noticed. So more duration for things and more damage reduction on your basic, please don't let me die buttons. That's that's good. Blizzard clearly knows what the pain is. The changes are welcome, and if you're tanking keys on one of these specs, the rest of the season should feel more smooth. Now, there are still some pain points with healers, there's still work to be done, but there's also an obvious question hanging over all this stuff, which is why did it take this long? Because by now, a lot of players have already adapted. Some have rerolled, some have geared to the safer option. That happened in my guild. Some have just stopped.
It's taken this long because not a single developer plays a tank. I mean, if you look at the tank changes in retail so far, and if you just look at it, that is the conclusion you come to, because the changes they've made has just been all over the place, and it just reeks of somebody who has not played this class or this spec the entire season so far. It's just people looking from the outside and in, and doing some changes, meanwhile not understanding the core gameplay of that class or spec in the first place.
Volunteering to be the person who, by being a tank, gets blamed whenever the pool goes sideways. And really, this is where the tank stuff becomes bigger than just the numbers. Tanks know the route, control the pool, they eat the panic whenever something goes wrong. And if the tank role feels undertuned, people will just stop queuing. And that's obviously been something that people have felt with the tank shortage. And I think this is the bit that matters beyond just the patch notes. The sturdier tanks are, the more people will be willing to play them. The shakier tanks are, and the more people will just quietly stop queuing. And basically, the more tanks that queue, the more Mythic Plus groups you're probably going to get. So every tank basically ends up enabling 4 other people to go and do a dungeon. Now, Blizzard already seem to know that the role is under pressure, and that's because of Lindormi's Glow. It was added in 1205 as an option to attempt to make routing easier. That definitely helps. But I just do not think the tank shortage is something that a small boost on its own will be able to fix. Tanks being sturdier is good. It gives them more room to think about their routing, threat, mob control, stops, positioning, and all of the other team captain things that they're already expected to do. And of course, it'll give healers a bit more room to handle group damage instead of just having to babysit the tank through every pull. So, better late than ever, these buffs should make the rest of the season smoother, and hopefully Blizzard takes a bigger lesson into the next season. If they want more tanks, the role has to feel less punishing to learn and less miserable to play whenever things go wrong. And absolutely, if major changes are needed for tuning, they need to make those changes earlier. Though of course that's not all that's going on with the game. 1207 is on the PTR, testing's going on. It does actually seem like a really cool patch, and we're gonna have videos on really cool things in that patch, like some of the leveling changes and heroic world tier fairly soon. Beyond that though, we're actually seeing the first little rumors and hints and I guess Blizzard server activity stuff suggesting that patch 12.1 is on its way to, at the very least, internal test servers at Blizzard. So whenever 1207 hits live, probably in like, 4, 5, 6 weeks, expect to either already have had the announcement for 12.1 or for it to absolutely be imminent. So, retail's moving, tanks are getting help, Warcraft 3 Legacy is easier to access, classic creators have went to the HQ, and all this Skyborn stuff seems really weird. There is a lot of Classic Plus smelling smoke, and I think that's because there is in fact a Classic Plus fire. I think we'll probably get some news quite soon. But there's one other big thing about the future of the game and where we could be headed, right? So we did this video about Ashara. It was like the last video that went up with the channel, and I think absolutely pivotal video.
To me, one of the biggest telltale signs that something is really cooking for Classic Plus right now is if you look at many of those content creators who went to Blizzard, look at their content recently. Both on Twitch and also on YouTube as well, in video format and in shorts format. It's almost all about Classic Plus now. And you have to wonder why that is. If they went to Blizzard and Blizzard told them, oh guys, Classic Plus is over a year away, guess what? They would all just simply play TBC then, and hype up TBC and then eventually Wrath. The fact that many of these are now spamming out Classic Plus content, to me is a telltale sign that it's coming, and that the hype is starting now and something is coming soon. If it wasn't coming soon, they would not be talking about these things right now, man.
Video that you should watch. After that though, and after I read through some of the comments, for me, the penny dropped. That basically, What if Ashara is being kept for after the last Titan? What if we are seeing fragments of her gathering power, knowing that basically the Xalatath stuff, the Titan stuff, the Eridicron stuff, all that shit's gonna go, meaning the rest of us will be left weak, and she'll be ready for the future. So if you want to know what's going on there, you have to check out the Ashara video next, and it is literally the link that just replaced my face. So have a click, thanks for watching, and I'll see you over there.
Alright, there we go, boys. That was the video. I was debating stopping when he was talking about the tank stuff in retail, but honestly, it was a good chat anyway, so hopefully some of you guys enjoyed that as well. I was considering just focusing on the classic part of this video, but hey, kind of managed to tie everything here into a classic plus discussion as well, so yeah, good video. It's kind of cool to see that Classic Plus is now reaching the more mainstream media and mainstream WoW YouTubers as well, I guess, than just the small content creators or smaller than Bellular content creators that have been covering it, such as myself as well. But it's cool to see more and more people getting involved now. So once again, that was a good video. The link will be down below so you can check it out as well, by the way. And we're gonna move on to the next one here.